You okay? You're okay. Hi, friends. I'm here. My lips are so dry. Oh, baby, we got a good one. Oh, I already set it up. Go, Tori. It's a new me. Okay, it's a new me. I put subtitles on the video we're reacting to, Jordan Peterson and Mikhaila Peterson. It's like, how long is it? It's 15 minutes, 54 seconds. Okay, let's go.
Stories. There's no way around stories. We live by stories. We live by stories. There's no way around it. That's an indisputable scientific fact. That's the revolution that's taken place in the last 50 years. People across a variety of disciplines have come to understand that a description of the structure through which we see the world is a story. That's indisputable.
Crazy.
That's driving the culture war, that argument. But the empiricists and the rationalists, they lost. We do see the world through a story. Once you know that, the only question is, well, what's the greatest story ever told? Right, that's the only question.
How did you figure that out? Because you've been talking about this for a very long time. So how did you switch from, like, let's say, I mean, a rationalist? I don't even know if you were a rationalist originally, but I would say the
Empiricist
average
probably more.
Okay, how did you switch from that?
So the difference between a rationalist and an empiricist is an empiricist believes that we build our worldview bottom up from the facts, and that there are self-evident, there is a strata of sensory data that constitutes the self-evident fact, and that all our knowledge emerges from that.
Okay.
The rationalist believes that there has to be a structure that intermediates between the sense data and the psyche, so that we impose order on the world. Order doesn't just emerge from the bottom up, that we bring an order that's part of our cognitive apparatus to our view of the world.
Oh.
Okay. The rationalists were closer to the truth than the empiricists, although we do change even our rational worldview as a consequence of empirical data. But the rationalists believed that the basis for that imposition of order was rationality. It's not, it's narrative.
Have they met anybody?
Well, yeah, I know.
Who are you hanging out with? Because I haven't met them.
Right. No, but that's exactly right. You know, that was the flaw in the worldview of the rationalists, like, let's say, like Dawkins, or even Michael Shermer for that matter, both people I have respect for, by the way. We'll free ourselves of our superstition and we'll become scientists. It's like, A, no we won't, and B, no we won't. Almost no scientists are scientists.
True.
Right,
we've seen that.
Well, that's
sure. Been loud and clear over the last period of years.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Suddenly everyone was a scientist.
Yes.
They're like, oh, nobody's a scientist.
Yeah. Well, then that's true. Like, it's really hard to be a scientist because you have to be willing to change what you think when you're wrong.
Yeah, you can't have any ego associated with it.
You have to look for where you're wrong. That's very annoying. It's very annoying, especially if you predicated your career on something you claim to be true. It's like, you know that thing that got me the job and my reputation? Turns out it's wrong.
Yeah, you have to really want to find the truth.
Yeah, you have to be desperate.
And that's it. That's it. And then it doesn't matter if you're wrong because who cares? The
That's
goal
right.
is to find the truth.
Right. But well, the thing is, at that point, you're not only a scientist, you're also religious because you believe that the truth will set you free, and you actually believe it. And
The truth will set you free and you actually believe it. That makes you religious. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. But I would say the truth will set you free because we live in a predetermined society. So when you realize that you don't have the control that you think you have, you learn to flow. More on that later.
that's hard. That's really hard. Like, first of all, there would be no real science without a bunch of false science. So let's get that on. Like, to do something right requires doing it badly a lot. So the fact that a lot of scientific studies aren't replicable, it's like, well,
Yeah.
some undergraduate did the study and it
Yeah.
was his first one. So, should it have been published? Yes, because you have to learn how to write scientific papers. Most science is wrong, but some of it isn't, right? There doesn't have to be much that's real for things. And like, how much of it do we want to be real? Do we want things to move faster than they already are? If we generate 3% new information a year and 97% of what we're doing is rubbish, it's 3% a year. It's like, it means we're like twice as smart in 10 years. That's plenty fast. So, in any case, it turns out that we do see the world through a story. And the biblical insistence is that the story isn't one of power, and it's not one of hedonistic self-gratification, and it's not one of nihilism. It's one of responsible, upward-seeking sacrifice. And that's true. It's true. It's not merely a religious proclamation, although it is that. It's inevitably the case. It's the case by definition. Here's one way of understanding that. Attention is sacrificial. Why? Because when you attend to one thing, there is an infinite number of other things that you are not attending to, right? When you do one thing, there's an infinite number of other things that you're not doing. You've sacrificed all those other possibilities to that one thing. What is that one thing that you're sacrificing everything to? Is it your whim? Well, that's not going to make you very popular with your tomorrow self or with anybody who might want to be around you.
Yeah.
Like, what's the aim of the sacrifice? Okay, there's more. Community is based on sacrifice. Well, why? Well, when you're 3 and you learn to take turns, what are you doing when you take turns? You're sacrificing your turn. Why? So that your friend can have a turn. Why? So that you have a friend. Right. And then maybe you have a bunch of friends. Now you have a community or a tribe. Are you better off? Yeah, way better off. You're not lonesome. You've got people around to help you. You've got people around to take care of. Right? That's a great deal. And then your little tribe becomes a town or a city, and then it becomes a nation. And it's one nation under God. And the God at the top of all that is the principle of, it's in part the principle of the sacrifice upon which community is founded.
Another way to say that is the utility of God. And when I say utility of God, I hate language. I hate it. When I say utility of God, I'm going like Albert Einstein, okay? We're going with his vibes, which is essentially like God is a higher, positive, ultimate good of something, but like the psychological synthesis of it, not like a separate man from self.
That's why Christ's life is the ultimate sacrifice, right? And that just happens to be true. It just turns out that that's true. It's the sacrifice upon which the community is founded. Well, we even know that because look what we've done. This is the structure of a European town, right? Classic European town. There's a church or a cathedral at the center, often the highest building in town by design. It's the center. At the center of the church is an altar. At the center of the altar is a sacrifice. Why? Because the community is founded on sacrifice. It's like, oh, and we were doing that. We were acting that out. No one knew. It's like, turns out we knew what we were doing all along. We act out things that we don't understand all the time. And some of them are very profound things. And that happens to be one of them. So it's even at the beginning of, there's this weird idea in John, right at the beginning of the Gospel of John, that Christ is the Word of God that's there at the beginning of time. Now, the beginning of time is a weird idea in the biblical corpus because the God who operates at the beginning of time is outside of time. So it's not exactly the beginning. It's the beginning and now and the future. So
I want to touch on that, but sometimes I feel like Jordan Peterson is like way ahead of us, way ahead of like probably majority of the population, and I don't even think he's aware of it. It's like, what do you mean by that? If we just think that, are you okay? We're okay. She does that when she doesn't like there to be talking. Bitch, I'm recording. You're okay, Spot. You okay? She's not okay. She's like, no. Mama, stop. You're embarrassing me. Fuck. But if you think back to humans having to learn to, like, okay, we are going back to when we were all just naked. Okay, we didn't even have leaves for our privates yet. That came later. When you come across another human and you're just like, I come in peace, I guess. It's like trying to come up with a language that you somehow understand what is being translated. I mean, everybody, it's like, I know we all know this type shit, like fundamentally, but trying to articulate it sucks, okay? But if you go back, we had to figure out how to cooperate in order to excel. Another way to think of it is like the bees and honey. It's like, how did they know to just start hiving and shit? Like, how did they know to do that? Because it's like intrinsic, right? Humans are different. Humans are different. The only intrinsic thing I think humans have, if they have something, is like to stay alive. Okay. Together. I'll build on it, but hold on. So when you think back to language and even the concept of time and how they set up time's a construct. Just saying. And it's, why do you think that would have been useful? Because it allows, in my worldview at least, it seems like it emerged as a way to control. And control gets, I feel like control has a bad connotation. But when you're trying to just like get people on the same page, even kids that are all rambunctious, it's like you kind of need to structure something. But so it ends up being, okay, this is when the crops grow. This is when we're not going to have enough food. And it became like a collective thing that we've adopted. But if you actually think about it and like really try to erase yourself from the concept or construct of time, you would probably understand there's like a before, now, and tomorrow on some level. And then telling everybody about that before there was like Instagram. Okay. It's like, oh, we have supper then? Not at this time. Don't be an idiot. Okay. Last time you came too late. I don't know. And it was like, not that time, this time. It's because there's two. But just shit like that. It's like we've evolved to the point where these things are like intrinsic. They probably always were, but I have no way to justify or prove that. So, son, whatever. So then he was saying, I forget where he was going. We're going to keep going. Okay.
God is conjuring the world out of potential at the beginning of time, now and forever. Okay, so there's something happening there, this wrestling with potential. That is the way the world is engendered. And human beings do that. That's why we're considered made in the image of God. Okay, what are we doing? We're performing the sacrifices upon which the foundations of order are predicated. With every glance we take, with everything we attend to or don't attend to, with every word we utter.
When Jordan Peterson says value, or he's talking about value, what he's talking about is assembling a bunch of different things into like a chronological order. Just if you're like, what the fuck is he talking about? It's saying, here's all the shit. We're going to put it like this. Whether it's true or not is up for debate. I think it's a way I think it's humans' way of adapting to a deterministic world. It's like there's no when humans are trying to find meaning in shit. I'm just laughing because it's like it's just so human of us to try to figure out why we did what we did, even though the science already proves that we don't become aware of it until like in the moment. And it's like that choice was already chosen seconds before you even like knew it was going to come. So it's like, of course, we're trying to justify what's going on up and that. Holy fuck. Wait a minute. Is that why there's a cross? Shut up. Yeah, because yeah. Sick. Wait, like, how the fuck? And I'm like, vertical, horizontal. And what does this represent? It's like we're going this way, but we are also getting pulled horizontally. So you need to think of like a circle, a web kind of, and then going this way and then it goes out that way. It's very dynamic. It's not like a linear line. You got two things going in both directions. Crazy. Okay, like chaos, emerging chaos. And it's like, what happens if you don't have control and order? In my opinion, I think our mind is so powerful, which is what makes us it's like we've evolved to do so much and so not much at the same time. But like, it's how do you explain that? How do you explain that? Okay, like I see humans as the most adaptable like bacteria, anaerobe and aerobe. Take me back. Anaerobe is like the type of bacteria that doesn't need oxygen to survive in like really difficult climates and shit. And then you have like the aerobic, or it's amoeba, I don't fucking know, but the one that does need oxygen or else it dies. I see humans as like a mix between both, which is, wow, Tori, how meaningful. I think it is. I think that's pretty fucking cool, to be honest with you. But essentially, we will adapt in the same time period. How do I word this? Like, let's say an entire volcano, it needs to be like human made. Let's assume that half of the world turns into Chernobyl because I forget to check on the reactor. Okay. In this lifetime, it would alter, like if I was exposed to that shit, which I would be, because that's my life. If I was exposed to that stuff, it would alter the eggs I have currently to the point where I would give birth to some sort of a childlike thing that would develop something like that would be advantageous to have in an environment like that. What do I mean by that? Like if we look at like ADD or autism, let's do autism. This is just we're abstracting, okay? I see the rise in autism as not doctors over prescribing. I actually think that like doctors, they have good frameworks, whatever. I see it emerging as a response to the rise in like plastics being in the environment, whether it's inhaled pollutants. I think plastics is to blame. And the reason I say that is because all of my autistic friends, their gift, okay, there's varying levels, okay, I know, but like, don't look at it in a bad way. It's a good thing. But it's like they all see patterns that like it is such a like what purpose would autism serve? Why can my friends see these patterns from a young age? Because seeing the pattern would allow you to go back and remove something from the environment. It's like the plastics. You know what I mean? Now that's just me being crazy, but like I genuinely think the rise in like that is not grounded in fucking shit. I need to say that. Okay, it's not grounded in anything. It's how I see the world, and looking at people's perceived weaknesses is actually like absolutely advantageous. I'll give you another one. When I think of ADD, the emergence of ADD, what purpose would that serve? And it's like, I don't know. No, I see ADD as a way that, one, the impulsivity, I don't know if it's a thing for sure, but I feel like there's almost like a morale with like a group of ADD people. They have an ability to get everybody in a positive mood that kind of aim upward, but at the same time, they can't focus on one thing for a long time. So why would that serve a purpose in this environment? Because whatever we need to do to fix it would involve multiple fucking frameworks. And if you don't believe me, oh baby, everybody, all the older people that are shitting on the fucking ADD kids they're so ignorant. There was usefulness back in their day to focus heavily on an area so you didn't miss certain shit, right? This is just normal female easy. What else? Well, look at the rises of what other shit emerged? It's fun, but like, hold on. Something like what would be like thinking too much, where it's almost like because we need something that lets us know that we've gone off. I'm doing this motion. So we got this. What would signal to everybody that something is off on the horizontal? When is somebody like not at homeostasis, and how would that present? I don't know. I'm just asking. Okay. What else? I don't know. Let's have them keep going. I'm just good. Can't focus. It's useful though.
Wrestling the world of potential into being. That is what we're doing. And what is it that confronts us?
Actually, I think the purpose of schizophrenia would be that there could be many different things, but I would say schizophrenia, depending on where we are, serves as a way, like if your awareness is off, okay, you think you're a god. I don't necessarily disagree with you. Be you know, but your distortion, if you want to say it that way, in the environment, seeing things that aren't there. I feel like this is going to sound so bad if you're schizophrenic, don't worry. But it's almost like you're not wrong. There are things in the environment, except most people can't fucking see it. You know what I mean? But not like that. Like there's no actual like demon in the other room. Okay. I promise. It's not there. Tell it to fuck off. Tell it to stop fucking with you. I would love to work in a fucking psych ward. I would kill them. I got you. You just gotta tell me about it, you know? Who's fucking with you? Go in there with like a hammer. I'll fuck him up. It could be something like it depends. What else could it be? See, it's tricky because you're dealing with so many like frameworks that we've all constructed. I'm like, well, I'm thinking schizophrenia. I'm like, well, what if it's schizoaffective? Because like that matters too. And that's a very different vibe, but not really a different vibe. You know what I mean? I'd be curious to see where certain mental disorders, they happen everywhere. Just to be clear, I'm Delulu, but not that Delulu. They happen everywhere. We're all connected, guys. If nobody's told you this, yeah, I heard it here. We're all connected by a thread you cannot see. There's a reason that I think we try to find meaning in things in order to calm. I think we would all lose our fucking mind if we really had the awareness. I feel like we're fucking with perception a little bit by doing this internet thing. Because now you got to be real mindful, really mindful of how we perceive, what's the word for how we make someone look? But it's like at the same time, get over it. But it's like when we do things that could purposely change the way somebody views somebody or a group of people, a company. Guys, we have like the witness protection program for a fucking reason. Okay? If something fucks with us morally, we will be on your doorstep and kill you ourselves. You shouldn't do that, but like we're driven by shit like this, so they have to like put some order on it, or else people will just think it's okay to murder more people than we have like police for instance. I don't know, it's like it's like you have to maintain some level of homeostasis, but it's on certain people, it's certain people's responsibility to do with that. Like it's like we should be viewing that shit like we view doctors. I wonder if that, I hope that made sense. Like if we saw a doctor, let's like assuming, well, no, we could do that. Let's assume that like a doctor had an obese patient and Ozempic wasn't available yet. And we heard a doctor like shaming them. It's your fault. It's like, we would be appalled whether you still think that's true or not. They're like, that's insane. We need to view like news agencies with the same scrutiny. I'm serious. Okay. I can't really say it. I don't really know how to justify it, but I know this to be true. Do what you will. But what else? Anything that makes you perceive another group of people like corn, it makes you dehumanize, if you will, probably not good. Because it's like a chain reaction that you might not even be aware of, you know? But what else? I don't know where it's going with that. We're just spewing, I guess. Gotta love it.
Is it the determinate material order? In part, because things are concretized. But everything that's concretized is still rife with potential.
Wait, I don't know.
This is a book, unless I pick it up and swat you with it, in which case it's instantly a weapon. It's like everything has its realm of potential around it, right? So we're surrounded by potential, and that's what our consciousness focuses on. You ignore everything that's predictable. Mm-hmm. You wrestle with the tohu vabohu, the potential that's there in front of you. And we do that in the microcosm, but it's the embodiment of the same principle of sacrifice that the Word of God uses at the beginning of time to cast the world into order. It's like, yeah, turns out that's true. So,
Whoa.
no kidding. No kidding. It's like,
So
I have no idea
mind-blowing.
what we're going to do when we realize that these stories are true. Because that's different than believing them, right? Because that's been the Christian insistence forever. You have to believe, which you do. Like, look, you have to have faith. And people might say, well, I'm only going to act in accordance with the evidence. It's like, okay, so let's say you go out on a date and you fall in love with the girl you're out with and you decide to get married. It's like, what? That's from the evidence, is it? That's why you're going to get married, because of the evidence. You have no idea what your marriage is going to be like. You don't have the foggiest notion of who it is that you are now tangled up with. You don't have a clue. And so
I would say that's probably because of the narrative conundrum. So Jordan keeps talking about how we see the world through narrative and not necessarily by truth. If you've been watching me for like the past, 2 months, I've been talking about how people, if people genuinely cared about truth axioms in the way that they say they do, it's like you would have atheists. Well, a lot of atheists do read the Bible. What else? If people actually cared about truth, people would be transparent. People wouldn't get canceled. I don't know how else to think of it. People wouldn't get fired from a job for no reason. What else? People wouldn't have these drama things. But like, the reason it happens is because people lie to themselves. They construct a narrative that soothes their ego, if you will. And it's almost like trying to adapt in a world where your reputation matters, and it's like all of that stuff always mattered. The difference was, before the internet, if Susie was sleeping with so-and-so's husband, it would take like weeks to find out that shit. Or maybe it was right away, but it was like you heard it from Sally at church, and then you slowly ostracize them, right? But now people can operate within the same 10 minutes of telling a lie, whatever it is. And it's like one way to look at it. What else? It's like your lie doesn't necessarily become like material in the material world. I'll give you an example. A good one. Sean, if you're watching this, just know that I'm talking about grief now. Love you. About a month, I think it was a month ago, one of our mods, Sean, who we all love and adore, he had mentioned to me that his dad passed away, and both Sean and I are caretakers of so awkward, of dementia. So it was oof. It was like a big deal. And that moment when your friend has a loss and you're just like, what the fuck do I say? That moment of just like, you just want to take the pain away from them right away. Why are we like that? And literally I sent a message back, and it's like, I don't even remember what was said, because all that went off in my mind was, you're lying. I'm like, I like to tell the truth no matter what, or else it festers in my brain. It's like, I forget exactly what I said. Like, oh, it'll be bad. Don't worry. It takes time. Some bullshit that anybody who's ever gone through grief, it's like, I fucking hate all your nice cards and shit. Go fuck yourself type shit. And it's like, I know that they're trying to be nice. Like, why am I insane? Why is it making me so mad? And it's because it's like a lie to your face. And it's like, in this society, we have this narrative, if you will, on the hero's journey. It's like, don't worry, it's transformative. It's like, oh, so my parent had to die in order for me to become my most evolved self. Sick. Like, I hate it here. I hate it here. I think it's such bullshit. And I said to Sean, I was like, dude, I can't lie to you. This sucks. This fucking sucks. You know what I mean? But I'm here to sit with you in it. And we don't have any narratives that teach you how to like sit in something that fucking turns your world upside down. It's the worst thing I think anybody can experience. Sorry if I'm yelling. I can't hear myself. I'm all stuffy. But I'm thinking to myself, whoa, we don't have a story that teaches you like how to keep going. It's always, you gotta turn it into some fucking some shit. It's like, how do you even know that's true? You don't. Shit, we got 5 stages of grief to deal with it. That you go in between stages, and it's like, here we go, trying to impose some sort of meaning on it. And it's like, I feel like if we were honest to people and told the truth and said this sucks and be there in the moment and sit through it, it's like society would learn to stop trying to cover up pain. They would stop trying to put on like the happy face because we don't know how to deal with it. It would stop people from being absolutely dumbfounded on what to say. Do I say like, I'm so sorry for your condolences, knowing absolutely that if you've experienced grief, this is like not helping. You know what I mean? It's like, why do we keep lying though? Sometimes I think if we were just honest about it, and it's like the hero's journey is trying to teach you bravery. You know what's brave to my ass? Knowing all the truth in the world and still getting up and going to work. That's brave. Why does it have to have an outcome of positivity? And it's like, maybe I'm just fucking traumatized. I don't know. I don't know. But there's something to say about teaching people how to go right through that pain. Otherwise, when we ground things, like we have these collective narratives, myths, on don't worry, it gets better. There's something to look forward to, which you cannot ground. If anything, I would argue as you age, it gets worse. It's just how resilient you are to it. You know what builds resilience? Truth, knowledge. Genuinely having the information ahead of time. Seriously, it's like, okay, you can kind of prepare yourself, but you can't really. It's like learning how to keep going when like a parent dies. It's like learning how to sit with somebody. You know what's a quote that I think about often is like, when you have joy to share with somebody, it's like double joy. But when you have sorrow, it's half sorrow. And I think about it often. It's like, so like, it's like our purpose as human beings to provide excitement and joy. It's like we both get to celebrate and it's awesome. But then it's like when you tell somebody your pain, sitting with them, it's like taking half of that off of them. Or it's just double sorrow. I don't know. I thought it was moving. But we need to tell different stories. We need different narratives. Otherwise, people are going to keep operating with this, pushing pain away, not dealing with it right away. I think it's honestly one of the things that fucks up culture the most. And that took me a really long time to figure out. And I am out of breath. Like the video if you haven't for my troubles. I love you. Fuck.
Why do you get married? Well, because it's an act of sacrifice. All other women are off the table. It's an act of faith. And the same thing happens when you move to a new city or when you take a new job. The evidence is not there. Now, that doesn't mean you can make stupid decisions.
I feel like when I hear him say just have faith, It's like I can't help but think about like, don't worry, you'll find yourself justifying why these shitty things happen to you anyway at some point, because it's just what we do. It's like kind of cute. It's like, gotta find meaning about the meaning. It's like, what if it's just because it's inevitable? It's going to come at some point, something like death. It's like, have faith that you'll get over it. Have some faith that you're going to be fucked up from it for like a couple years. You know, I think the world makes you feel fucking nuts. When, you know, it's 3 years, your friend's worried about you because you don't want to go anywhere. And we like go to the psychologist and they're like, what's wrong? And it's like, I just lost the person that meant the most of me 3 years ago. And I can't seem to cope. I'm homesick. And we act like, 3 years. It's kind of a long time. And so we get on, cover it up. Here's a pill. Which I support, honestly. But it's just like, nothing teaches you how to just go right through it. Fucking, you want to cry your eyes out on a Tuesday because some scent reminded you of camp when they picked you up? Fucking do it. Do it. And if you're anything like me, I'm like, no, I gotta work. It's like, I'll do it another day. Don't do that shit. Sit with it. Go right through it. Ugh. You know? Am I alone on this one?
But all the time when we're pursuing the adventure of our life, always, it's an act of faith. It's not an adventure otherwise. If you know with 100% certainty that your bet will pay off, well, first of all, you're being an automaton in some ways. And second, there's no excitement in that.
Oh, sorry.
It's so interesting that the act of faith, this is by definition, it's something I cover in detail in the book. The act of faith is by definition the adventure of life. I mean, who would have ever guessed that? Why do you have faith? So that weirdly exciting things can happen to you all the time. So that's something else I tried to detail in this book is the relationship between truth and adventure. And that's such fun. It's so fun to understand that. So let's say you decide that you're just going to say what you think. You know, like not carelessly and not self-servingly, but that's just your rule. If someone asks you a question, you just say what you believe to be true. Okay, so that's a sacrificial gesture. Why? Well, because you don't get to decide what you want for the outcome. You know, because I could be sitting here thinking, well, I should tell Mikhaila what she wants to hear because, you know, maybe she'll make a business deal with me then.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you don't get to do that. You get to say what you think. And then you'd have no idea what's going to happen. No idea. And that's ridiculously entertaining.
Or I suppose sometimes you do know what's going to happen if you say what you think, which is why people...
So, like, I think what he's getting at is if you try to think ahead of time how to make something go a certain way, it's like you're almost putting on a front. It could go that way, or it could just be you just want to be liked. And it's like, why don't you just say what you believe to be true? You know? I think if somebody does that and the other person doesn't take it well, why do you think that is?
Avoid it, right? Or they think they know.
Is this a story about Torrie or someone? It's about humans. Okay, we're all connected.
No. You might know what will happen in the moment.
Ah, I see.
But you don't know how that's going to exponentially expand. Okay, so, you know, you've seen this. So lots of the people that we know have been canceled. So I talked to Graham Linehan, for example, this week. Podcast is coming out soon. He was the UK's top comedy sitcom writer. He won like a Lifetime Achievement Award for it. He was like the number one guy. And beloved by his audience. And they just nailed him. Like 5 years ago, he was canceled. No job, no writing opportunities.
Do you guys see why I say most humans are good now? Is that more clear now? Sorry, I know I paused it randomly because I've been saying like most humans have empathy and most humans are good. It's like you can tell just based on like grief or like how they want to take away the pain right away. I know it doesn't feel like that when you watch it. You're like, oh, this is making me so mad because it's not helping, but it's like that desperation where that's what you're supposed to say is so prevalent. It's like, it's just humans really are like empathetic. It's just kind of cute. Like if you didn't have faith in them, get it?
He blew his marriage into pieces because they went after his wife, and
there's no such thing as true stories. It's a good point. There is. It's tricky though, because I remember, I won't go into the whole thing. I'm just like, it's a new era, but I remember trying to like get people to help for a situation for my own, for somebody else. And it was like you tell them exactly, you describe exactly what reality was, and people would take it like you're talking about them. I'm sure Jordan Peterson understands it, because as a doctor, you ask a question, why are you asking me that? But this happens like whenever you communicate with humans. There's sometimes that it doesn't happen, but maybe people will be more conscious of it. But because of that dilemma in language, I remember thinking the only way to get people to see what's in my soul right now is through storytelling. And I am not in a place mentally where I can do that without crying. So we have a dilemma. I remember thinking if I could just curate it in a way that moved people, like when they hear like a TED talk or some shit, I don't know. And it's like, but I don't want to do that because that makes me sad. I'm trying to do it without crying. You know what I mean? It's a dilemma I've been thinking about for like 10 years. So it's like when we talk about there's no such thing as true stories. I think back and I remember it's like I so desperately wanted other people to get it because I desperately wanted this person to get help, and I feel like I was failing like horribly. And I look back at that now and I'm like, everything happens for reasons. No, I don't think that way. But I think about that same situation, and I think about it in a bunch of different ways like putting myself in their shoes, reversing the roles, which I did that still at the same time. But when I was able to confront that sometimes you can't help people that don't want to be helped, and that counts as not being aware of one. That one was hard for me, y'all. Even if they're not aware of the situation, because they've lost whatever, would you still intervene? Would you have still, if you knew that they were going to suffer for the rest of their life and never end up getting treatment, would you have still pulled them off the train tracks? If you knew they were going to suffer, I mean, really deep, heavy, like moral dilemmas. And I'm just like, if I knew that, would I have done anything differently? And I just remember having a moment of just like, no, I would have acted the same. And so anytime I hear about people justifying something like the trolley dilemma, I'm just like, that's only one framework. Like, let me take you down into the deep fucking hell. Like, I want you to think about the trolley dilemma, except the person on the track would you lie down on the track and remove them? That's the type of frameworks. Would you allow yourself, or the sacrificial, would you allow yourself to do that? Is there ever a right time to save somebody's life? And it's interesting because the Bible will talk about you shouldn't the only way I can like explain this is when I think about like self-deletion, which is the sin or whatever. It's like you don't go against God's plan. That's viewed very bad. Very bad. So bad that even insurance companies bank off of it. Sorry, dark joke. And it's like, why do you think we did that? Why do you think like the religious humans did that? Because they're trying to create frameworks that kept the emerging dynamic, causal chain web, whatever you want to call it, as grounded as they could. Because what happens when somebody self-deletes? It ruins communities. Like it's a horrible thing. Not even just like self-deletion itself, but the aftermath, horrible. I'm not blaming anybody. I think it's like the cause of environment, but it's incredibly sad. Nobody gets over it. Nobody. No. We just push it down. But it's like, why did they do that? And on some level, they realized that it wasn't good for the collective. I think. I don't fucking know. But when we look at it, I guess, from like this, don't do it because God said so. Like that's what it's giving. And it's like, okay. I don't know, when you view it as sin, it's like, why are we still blaming? We're still blaming the victim. And that's why I do. The sole reason that I talk about determinism in the way that I do is because this blame is ruining cohesion on another level. Truth will set you free. That belongs to determinists, in my opinion. Because if something's wrong and we shift the blame to the person who took their life, when depression has multiple factors at play, psychological, environmental, shitty parents, fucking zero dopamine, you know what I mean? It's like there's so many things causing it, and they should have known better. It's like, no, we should have prevented it. We know how to notice the signs of depression in somebody, but it seems like nobody seems to fucking care, do they? It's because of that blame. It's their responsibility, and it's like, well, all right, I feel like if we have free will, prove it to me, like this video. Prove me wrong.
He said they never had any trouble before this. Then he lost his job and all hell broke out and they tortured her and he lost his marriage. And like, he just lost everything. And he said he doesn't regret it. And part of the reason he doesn't regret it is because of all the people he met. And we know all these weird people who've been canceled and they've all kind of aggregated together. And
hilarious,
you think, oh, well, those people are worth knowing. It's like, yeah they're really worth
way
knowing.
More entertaining than the average person, too. Yeah. Or like fun
that's
people.
Because they actually, well, and that's the thing about all those comedians, that like Rogan's a good example of that. Or Theo Vaughn. It's like, I'll just say what I think. Maybe it'll be funny. It's like, we'll see what happens. And what happened with Rogan? It's like Rogan became the most powerful journalist the world has ever seen. So that's funny. And it turns out that when Kamala Harris decides not to go on Rogan's show, that's really hard on Kamala Harris and not very hard on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty funny.
Oh, man. So like, there's an object lesson there. And Trump went on Theo Vaughn's show.
I know. That was great.
It's so funny. Theo's super bright, and I think he's hilarious. But he plays he plays working class hick perfectly, partly because he was one, even though he's a complete bloody genius. And now Trump is the guy that's being interviewed by Theo Vaughn during the weirdest presidency run ever. It's like, that's entertaining.
JD Vance talking about cocaine to JD Vance. That might have been my favorite part of 2024. Maybe.
Wait, he did with JD Vance, or was he? I remember he was talking about it with Donald Trump. It's interesting because I think Trump has done way more for mental health and addiction than any president has done. He merged them to be treated the same way. That's huge. That's removing the blame to the addict, which I think is it's so funny because I was thinking about this morning. As funny, I'm dark, but like, people are like, if you take away control, it's like then the addict's whole step treatment, 12-step, it's like it takes away their healing. I was like, well, the way I view it is AA was the first environment where they didn't get blamed for their addiction, that people actually listened to them. See how different that environment is? Instead of, I don't know, trying to get on Suboxone in order, which I'm not a medical professional, forgive me. Sorry. The medication that is given to people trying to get off of heroin, it's like they go and they're treated like absolute scum by everybody, even the pharmacist. And it disgusts me, actually. So yeah, why does the 12-step work? Because it's putting them in a different environment where people actually listen to them, in my opinion. That's all you need. It's very healing and aiming upward. You see, when you're around people that blame you for everything, whether you're on drugs or not, but you will slowly descend. But when you remove the blame and you say, you're kind of in a lot of things at play that made you more susceptible to do it, environment being a huge one, you can get better. That is a positive aiming upward. So I'm yelling. We're doing this video again tomorrow. I have rainbow cake that I want to eat. Me too. I love the rainbow cone. It's not your fault, honey. I have not done drugs. I lost a very close friend of mine, Paige, to drugs. So it's sad, but I'm not gonna cry. It's okay. I'm fine. It's fine. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm gonna go eat myself in cake. I'm not addicted to drugs. Sugar. But yeah, okay, I love you. Make good choices. Be nice to people. We're all connected. Okay, we all feel the ripples. If you hurt, I hurt. And I don't necessarily see you, but I feel you. Be nice to people. Okay, I love you. Bye.